Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there.
We hope everybody's doing well.
Indeed we do.
This was a Patreon exclusive. This was a few days in the making and a lot of information, some of the last of which just came through last night. So we would encourage everybody to join us over there. Again, this would be, you could access this just throughout being a $1 a month Patreon, or actually $10.80 gives you access to most of the posts that are going to be over at Patreon, as we do exclusives usually multiple times each week. And then we're also going to have more with teaching and building your own abilities over there as well. But fascinating stuff that I've never heard anybody else come and get across, although perhaps others have. And again, we want to thank everybody for their support over there.
Thank you very much.
So this is Representative Anna Paulina Luna announcing she is going to lead the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. This includes the 9/11 files, Jeffrey Epstein files, JFK killing, the RFK killing, Martin Luther King killing, COVID origins, UFOs, aliens, including over here again. We're hoping to present that information, at least acknowledge it from a government perspective, that we are not alone. You know, transparency. Why would they do this now? Simply because they have absolutely no choice. They have no choice. You know, we've never been alone, as we've shared. And we know this ourselves from direct contact, as we've had a lot of direct contact experience. Many people have. There are so many contactees out there. The numbers are certainly in the millions, I would think. Definitely. And there's just so much other evidence out there. So one of the first things that she's going to be looking at is the JFK killing. And we'll see. We'll see what comes up. Already talk of being two different shooters, perhaps being acknowledged from an official point of view. Again, it's fascinating times to be alive in, but these are times where paradigms are completely shifting, and that's the part to get across. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
No, not anymore. Nope. Mm-mm.
No, and even if you are in Kansas, the perspective on planet Earth is really, really shifting. And again, it's just our section of planet Earth. This is part of the distortion. But there's so many people out there doing so much great work. We were quoting Jared Boosters, who has a channel that exposes Tartaria and things along those lines, kind of similar to John Levy. And some others out there. And then we were also talking, of course, in the past about Paul Wallace and his Fifth Kind channel, all the works he has done. Again, just looking to the works of Plato will give you a lot of answers. It really, really will. It's just a matter of exposure. But they keep us working so hard just to make the bills, and we are fighting inflation. Obviously, inflation's going through the roof. When you go and look at Drudge Report, what do you see? Inflation comes hot. Gas prices soar. Groceries spike. And this is all part of the drama that they keep us occupied with. It's all drama to keep us sleepwalking to the fact that we're living in a control system that is slowly being exposed. So they're going to expose a big chunk of that control system, but they're still going to maintain another part of the control system that they're not going to expose.
It's going to be a mess, and it's like two parents getting a divorce, and we are the children who are going to suffer those consequences. There's no way around it, so we really have to do our best to make our lives manageable.
So if you want to use that analogy, then let me ask you, do you want to go with mom or do you want to go with dad? How about neither? How about neither? We grow up and we say we don't need mom, we don't need dad in the sense of the system, because the system is like bad foster parents that have taken you over. You don't even know they're not your real parents, they're your foster parents. Nobody's ever told you that. You think you belong with these people, but you don't belong with them. And so that's an analogy that I'd like to really get across because it feels like it fits. So what we need to do is find out, well, wait a minute, I don't really come from them per se. Who do I really come from? And, well, what is my potential? And this is what humanity is only beginning to really grasp. Our potential's far beyond our parents, if we're going to look at them from the light of the system, the left and the right, all the different paradigms that are diametrically opposed with each other, liberal and conservative, atheist and religious, communist, capitalist, all these different things, Russian, Chinese, American, British, these are all different labels. Every single one of them the system has created. Every single label you grew up with, the system has created. So in one way, it's like part of the system tattling on the other. It's your mom saying, do you know what your dad's been doing? And meanwhile, your mom, she's been doing bad things too. And this is part of the realization.
Yeah, it reminds me of those terms that you use when you find out you're in an abusive relationship, like gaslighting, like, childhood alienation, things like that are just really, really bad and traumatic. And they run very deep. And this is our very control system that did that to us. So we need to recognize that at a certain level, I think.
I like the words you used, because we're all like children in childhood, and it is an alien nation. Yeah. Alienation. Look at that word, break it down. Yeah, we're living in an alien control system, and we have been the cattle. We have been the sheep. They even tell you that, hey, you're sheep. You need to be herded. Yeah. What happens to that herd eventually? If you're lucky, you get shorn and you're still alive. If you're not lucky, then, again, it's kebabs and burgers.
Oh, yeah. And eventually maybe you're just getting sheared all your life, which is fine. But when you reach a certain age and you're not good for that anymore, well, then you're going to be some farmer's dog food.
This is the reality. And we have been a food source. And the control system resides on lower fourth density. We have 3D bodies. We are already eternal beings. We don't need any sort of being to give us immortality because we're immortal by nature as far as our consciousness. And this is a given. And most understand this, but again, it's the system that tries to convince you otherwise, because if they could also control you from the perspective of thinking you can't escape this reality if you go against the system, even when you leave your body, then they really got you. And this is part of their paradigm. NASA officials now report a 2.3% chance of an asteroid striking Earth in 2032, up from 1.9 yesterday. This keeps going up. So this equates to a 1 in 43 chance of impact with 97.7% likelihood that the asteroid will miss. It's estimated to be between 130 and 330 feet in diameter, which would be substantial enough to cause major damage. The reality is, as we can remote view this and see this, it's not an asteroid, just like that wasn't a moon that came and orbited Earth for 2 months and then left. No, that was a ship that came and literally measured the consciousness level of humanity, because when humanity gets to a point where it can understand the bigger picture and handle the bigger picture and not be kept in a low survival frequency, then we could join the rest of the reality out there and know openly and interact openly with beings of a higher frequency than the controllers of this system. So they were measuring our frequency, and believe it or not, we actually did better than they expected. There's going to be another more major measuring event that coincides with the ending of certain galactic treaties around summer solstice of this year. So again, a lot of everything is still to be determined, as nothing is written in stone. But this is a ship that is heading this way, and it does, feel like it is a ship that is perhaps of a warlike nature. And what Cindy's picking up is that there's more ships that have joined it as well.
Mm-hmm. There is more ships with it today. Those could have been there the first time I viewed this thing, but I'm only seeing it now since there's a change in frequency. I'm looking from a different perspective, a different aspect. But today I saw smaller ships around it. And I also picked up that it could very well be easy to cloak this big one, but there's some trouble with the cloaking situation here. I wonder if it's the smaller ships, not this whole entire thing that we're looking at with itself and its littler ships. It's not going to be able to cloak itself entirely. So it feels like NASA is having to adjust their story to make some kind of sense out of something, just change a story just a little bit, get them used to it, get them used to just a little bit, and then we'll add a little bit more to the story. Then we'll add a little bit more to the story. Baby steps, increments, so that they don't know we're out and out lying to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But this control system's been in place. The alien invasion did happen in the past. There's evidence, and it just tells you. If you look at Paul Wallace's last work on the Fifth Kind TV, or one of his last ones, he was again quoting what I always quote, which is Deuteronomy 32 and Psalm 82, because that gives you a hint of when the alien invasion came here and they split up our territory and took control of it and put this system in place. Again, and unfortunately, they do have us giving them energy through the worshiping of literally them, the controllers. This is a big, hard chunk of information to swallow and digest, but it is the reality that we find ourselves in. And what is happening is naturally we're leaving the frequency range. We would all leave naturally if there was not the interference from the control system that is trying to keep us in their range where they can control us and use us as a resource as well as a food source in more ways than one. This is what we find ourselves in. The key is really in your frequency. It's all about raising your frequency, understanding things, learning how to develop that quote-unquote Buddhist detachment so we can see what's coming, but we are not emotionally put into a state of either abject terror or anger and hatred, because again, these frequencies will pull us down into the range they can manipulate. So their favorite tools are anger, hatred, and fear. And this is what keeps us locked in this cycle. This is why they have us fearing an economic collapse and depression. This is why they have us fearing World War III. But at the same time, these events do happen because they're all part of the control system. So it's being aware of and recognizing the different things they're going to throw our way, but yet handling it in a manner in which we are not giving off those frequencies. So again, a daily spiritual practice. Religion is kind of like taking spirituality and throwing it in a box with all these rules and paradigms that you can't go outside of. It's time for humanity to break itself out of the box and expand its horizon.
I look at all these little puzzle pieces as these puzzle pieces have been thrown on top of humanity, and people say, or the controllers say, well, work it out. And what I see is a lot of separation when it comes to spirituality and belief systems. And our problem lies in just that, to me. I mean, if we're having trouble accepting our own belief systems and accepting each other for our belief systems, what makes us ready for, another layer of beings? What are their cultures going to look like? If we can't even accept our own and accept ourselves. So I think, the camera needs to be put back on ourselves, and we need to look at ourselves and do our best to find that self-realization and say, hey, where can I do better? Where can I do better? Because we all can. There's room for improvement with everybody except for this cute little kitty next to his soccer ball. Now, that is perfectly cute.
As always, guys, we thank you for your support, and we invite you to come join us over on Patreon to make an appointment for energy work, Vedic astrology charts, spiritual coaching and guidance. It's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And all the info on all of our services are there on every single video. So just like open it up and scroll down and you'll see all the details.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.